Jason, Anna, and everyone else I've met and worked with at Heinemann and Windmill, I feel very happy to have landed here, so thank you. I'll read 2 pages from a new novel which will come out, I think, in October next year. I don't have the date nailed down for sure. Titled Goat Mountain. It's set on the hunting ranch that we went to every fall when I was a kid to hunt deer. And my father would have me aim at poachers if we saw poachers on our land, hunters who were there illegally. He'd have me look at them through his 300 Magnum through the scope with a shell in the chamber. And at the end of the first chapter of this book, the boy pulls the trigger, which is something that I had always felt like I was on the edge of doing, all those times I sighted in on these illegal hunters. So that caused a problem for the rest of the characters. It's a book that, as I got toward the end of it, I realized it was in conversation with the previous 2 books, with Caribou Island and Dirt, that they all had God in them in some strange way. I'm an atheist and never imagined I was going to be writing about this, but I realized there was doom in the Anglo-Saxons in Caribou Island, there's the New Age movement in Dirt, and there's the Holy Trinity in a very strange form in Goat Mountain, this next one, the grandfather becoming a kind of God, the dead man becoming a kind of Jesus, and the dead buck becoming a kind of Holy Ghost. That was very strange to understand as I was at the end of it, and also strange to realize that this finished off all of my family material. After this, I won't be accused of doing terrible things to my family anymore. This is it. And it's the material from the first short story I ever wrote, more than 20 years ago, and Dirt was the material from the second short story. So I've picked all the low-hanging fruit, and this Goat Mountain will be the end of it. So it's very strange to read just a page out of the middle of it, but here it is. The dead man's boots were still hanging in chains from that meat hook, yellow-brown work boots with their soles to the sky, hanging down perfectly in unison, as if they still held the dead man, and who could say they didn't still hold something? I was creeped out enough to believe anything. The dead man below in his sack with his face and intentions hidden, and only his socks and shins visible to us, white shin meat and bone. Well, we can't leave him like that, Tom said. Yeah, my father said. I'm not touching him, Tom said. Another piece of news, my father said. My grandfather rolled his neck, eyes closed, rocked his head side to side, like a boxer warming up. Here, he said, here we are. Sorry, I scrolled the page. More philosophy, my father said. You're not up to the test, my grandfather said. You think everything is funneled down to this, but in fact everything has become possible. And what is that supposed to mean? You're standing here at a moment when you could be anything. Yeah, you're right, this is freedom, a real gift. It is actually, you just don't see it. This dead body doesn't matter. My grandfather stepped forward then and reached down for the dead man's ankles and picked him up, free of the sack, that white belly gone dark, a stiffness to his arms and legs. In the center of his chest was one small disruption, a rough dark entry point, and a caving from gravity, all the backing gone. Don't touch him, my father said. Tom was backing away with his rifle held before him, and I was doing the same. The dead man, a darkened ghost, his head kinked, hands tied between his legs, looking at us from the tops of his eyes, vacant holes. My grandfather turning and swinging the body, turning like a shot putter, spinning, pulling that dead man in an arc, and the dead man patient, holding on for the ride, his head and shoulders lifting higher above ground, levitating, and my grandfather at the center, this mound of living flesh, a hub of blood, and the dead man become a putrid spoke, and this wheel turned, and my father backed away, but not fast enough, and my grandfather flung the body at my father. The dead man lofted for a moment, an easy lift to his shoulders and his mouth open in pleasure as he sailed through warm summer air, the center of him still missing, but that bullet hole become a second birth, and this his childhood, playing on a summer day, flung outward in pleasure, but my father shrinking, caving backward, turning, his hands coming up to fend off. But the dead man collided with him, chest to chest, rolling up close to my father in an embrace, and the two of them falling back in a moment suspended forever in my mind, finally hitting ground and both shaken at impact. So I do love a tragedy. and this book comes closest to Greek tragedy of anything I've written. Dirt was getting close to dramatic unities, 5 characters, 10 days, mostly 2 locations. This is 4 characters, 2.5 days on a mountainside, just one place, and it happens almost in real time. So it was a strange experience and very unconscious, right? And I had no idea what the book was about as I was writing it, only came to understand it toward the end. So anyway, I hope you enjoy it when it comes out in October. Thanks.